Well, for more on China's conservation efforts, Changhua Wu joins me from outside Washington. She's the CEO of the Beijing Future Innovation Center and the Executive Director of the Professional Association for China's Environment. Welcome back to the program, Changhua. Always good to have you.
Thank you for having me again.
Oh, always. So this was a big eco week. First we had World Environment Day and then World Oceans Day. We know last year that China's coastal sea levels were the highest on record. What's the government doing to mitigate the impact of rising waters?
Well, fighting climate change has been a top priority globally and also in China as well. We have to take integrated efforts. On one side, we have to mitigate emissions, to reduce emissions as much as possible, as fast as possible. On the other side, we have to adapt because we are already living in climate change crisis already. Sea level rise and coastal water erosion has been among the major impacts the coastal regions have been experiencing. On one side, I think the government has been investing heavily, working with the local governments to enhance resilience, to make sure the damage from like sea level rises, storms, whatever, would be controlled or managed to the level that would protect the people's lives and the properties. On the other side, really taking more dramatic efforts to protect, to make sure the regions, particular coastal regions, are protected under something called, we call it protected areas. We have land protected areas, and now more efforts are being given actually to the coastal regions there. Currently, as you mentioned earlier on, large part of the regions, the coastal regions, already being protected, but obviously it's not adequate at this moment. The government definitely needs to do more.
You know, this issue of adaptation is really interesting to me because Beijing has set a goal to become a strong maritime nation and to capitalize on its 32,000 kilometers of coastline, while at the same time, as you mentioned, improving the health and biodiversity of the ocean. So how does it do both sustainably?
It's a tough question. I don't think there's a simple or easy answer there at all. That's why we're exploring. On one side, as I said, we need to protect. Globally, we are literally withdrawing or reducing our footprints as much as possible. In the meantime, taking efforts to restore, remediate the impacts and restore, bring back the nature part. That's why we're putting more and more areas, or including coastal regions, actually oceans, under something called the protected areas, so that we'll be able to give nature more time to breathe and to bring back life as they would, magically they could. So as I said, there's no simple answer. All the efforts are necessary, but at the end of the day, we do have the direction is clear. We have to make sure we'll be able to have much stronger resilience, particularly in the time of climate change issues.
And Changhua, we have just less than a minute left, but we can't talk about the environment without bringing in China's climate target of hitting peak emissions by 2030. What's the progress on that?
Well, I think it's a fascinating progress so far, particularly look at energy efficiency as well as renewable energy installations. China is at unprecedented historic record in terms of progressing so far. So I feel confident that we will definitely get there, hopefully before 2030, as early as possible. The current target is before 2030 to peak the emission. Hopefully somehow, somewhere right after 2025, we'll get there as soon as possible.
Changhua Wu, always a pleasure to speak with you. Thank you so much.
Thank you.